Depending on what day of the week it is, I might be doing marketing, finance, operations, product. We often say internally that we want our customers to kind of feel the impact of AI as opposed to seeing it. They're ecstatic that they get to put that money back into the business and the business can use that for anything. I think another kind of driving force will be how people shop and look for insurance, but you fail to understand so many different things.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Insurance Distribution Podcast. I have the opportunity today to talk with Jake Wells, co-founder at Meshed. Jake, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing very good. We were talking off camera that as a co-founder, you have multiple roles. How would you define your day-to-day at Meshed?
I do a lot of the ignored work. So yeah, depending on what day of the week it is, I might be doing marketing, finance, operations, product, and now with Claude, I'll occasionally be prototyping something and do some level of engineering as well. But no, it's good fun.
That's right. I think part of the reason why we become entrepreneurs is because we love a lot of things, a little bit of everything. So the fact that you have that opportunity, that is great. Amazing. So let's dive right into Mesh. If no one knows about Mesh, how would you define it? Can you briefly describe what it is and what pain you're solving in the market?
Yeah, so we are in what we're calling an AI native commercial insurance broker. So effectively, plain and simple, SMEs buying insurance is a very painful experience. Call a broker, go through PDFs, back and forth on emails, and then end up with a piece of paper, effectively your product. The process is even more painful for the actual brokers as well. We've seen some technology come into the market, but really with this advent of kind of Gen AI and kind of agentic tools and ways of working, we believe that we can kind of transform the broker from being a administrator of kind of menial work to being an orchestrator of agents that can take on the boring tasks, which brokers don't want to do, and they can focus on high value tasks, speaking to underwriters, speaking to customers. So yeah, that's us.
Amazing. So what you're trying to do is to get more accessible insurance for SMEs at the same time that you're becoming way more efficient, so your margins improve consistently, right? But in the end, you're becoming a provider of multiple carriers that are available in the market too, right?
100%. Yeah. So we've got access to all of the kind of top markets, your big Avivas, AIGs, AXAs, Allianz, Zurichs, you name it. We've probably got an agency with them, to smaller niche MGAs that specialize in certain things like cyber. So we've got some amazing cyber partners that we work with. And exactly that, we want to be that amazing bridge that you as a small business, a startup, whatever, can purchase insurance, and we'll help you facilitate that. And again, what part of our value proposition early on is we do want to bring the commission levels down and the fees, because we're saying we don't need an army of people to manage your policy. We want an army of agents to help manage your policy, and you can still have that human connection with us, and we can kind of give you back more of that hard-earned cash. So we're speaking with a customer this morning. They were paying about £10,000 for their insurance. They've moved over to Mesh, no fees, no commission. We've brought that down to 7,500. They're ecstatic that they get to put that money back into the business, and the business can use that for anything, training, staff party, whatever. So yeah, that's really what we're trying to do.
So is return on investment could be determined by how many new parties you can do with the team. That's probably a good angle, right? A commercial angle. Probably
exactly, yeah. It's something that we've been thinking about. Like, if we save customers a lot of money, could they do a big staff away day or something and really reward the staff that got them where they were that year?
That's amazing. So let's talk about your background. Like, how did you end up working in a vertical solutions such as AI for brokers or brokers with AI? What was your background?
So when I was younger, I always wanted to have my own business, have my own startup. And after uni, I kind of wanted to work in a startup. The first startup that just managed to take me was an insurtech called Azure. And effectively what they were doing was they were taking a legacy team, off as a legacy platform, and rebuilding that. And that was kind of my first introduction into insurance. And I just kind of fell in love with the industry at that moment. It kind of touches every facet of life. Everything you look at or touch or see in a day-to-day is insured or has been insured at some point of its life, from buildings to cars to planes to trains to you're seeing it with the stuff that's going on in Iran. The boats can't move because they're not being insured. So yeah, it's a super interesting, huge market. Very legacy in terms of systems and mindset. And then I moved around effectively. So I worked for 3 different insurtech businesses. And now, as of a couple of weeks ago, all 3 have exited. So yeah, I'm either a good luck charm or know how to pick them, which is quite good. So yeah, hopefully Mesh will be the 4th.
But how did you end up at this? The Mesh project started almost 2 years ago. How did you end up like saying, hey, it is a good timing to do it?
A number of factors. So I've always worked in broker distributed products. So I've always kind of worked either for an MGA or an insurer or with the broker itself. in building products for them. Kind of seen how manual and how admin heavy it was. Then I was playing around with ChatGPT very early on and was like, this is such a powerful technology. It's very much obviously language based. Insurance broking is a predominantly language based industry. How can we kind of leverage this new technology as it's advancing and build something for brokers that can kind of supercharge them? And that's effectively what we're trying to do at Mesh, is build that like robot top tier employee and give them the leverage that they need to do more effectively with their time. And then how it properly started was Mark, one of the co-founders here. I used to work with him in the last business. He sold that. As a result of that, I got made redundant. So I went traveling for a little bit, but we had a plan to team back up and build something bigger and better. So the final bit was effectively pushed, but it was well worth it.
And if we put this from the perspective of the buyer of insurance, so the SME that is currently working with you or that eventually will be working with you, I always like to, this Brian Chesky, the CEO of Airbnb, picture of what is the 5-star review, but what is the 6, what is the 7, what is the 8-star review, what is the 10-star review? Can you compare what is the current experience that, aside from money, paying less, that is great. What are the things that your customers are valuing from the experience with Mesh that in the past they didn't have with the traditional, quote unquote, traditional broker?
Yeah. So one of the main things that we're hearing about is just the platform. So how a lot of our kind of customers that we've won have bought insurance previously is they'll speak to a broker, they'll get sent a PDF, they'll have to fill out this like 30-page PDF, not really sure what some of the questions are, go back and forth, send it to the broker will come back on email, there's a back and forth on email, and then suddenly you end up with your policy documents and you pay money. So you might part way with £10,000 and you end up with 14 different PDF documents. You don't really know what's in each one. So what we're really trying to do is bring that into the platform. So you've always got a place to essentially manage your policies. We're doing a lot of risk management. So we just released a cyber kind of scanning part of our platform. So every customer, even if they're not a customer of us, even if they just want to use the platform, can get a free cyber scan on their business, which has been pretty cool. We've seen quite a nice uptick. In terms of really giving that like 6-7-star service, people see insurance as a bit of a grudge purchase. They deal with it once a year. They know it's coming around. They don't really want to deal with it. And that's why churn is so low in insurance, because you can't be bothered to move. So what we really want to do is build an experience that makes it super easy to move, low investment of your time. But as a result of that, you'll end up with a really slick platform that you get to use. And ultimately, you will save some money and you've always got a human that you can speak to. Because we have customers that could be paying up to kind of £10,000 in their insurance and they'll be with one of the top 5 brokers in the UK and they don't have anyone to speak to. It's a bit of like a black hole. You email someone replies, you email them again, someone different replies. So it's really hard to build that kind of connection, understanding of that business, which is something that we really take pride on.
So that's interesting. Like in spite of you saying we are an AI broker, in the end, there are people, given that, and I think I really connect with that because insurance is not something that we can touch. It's not something that we can actually use unless we have a problem. It is something that... Exactly. Especially for businesses, you need to trust someone. I mean, maybe your car insurance, okay, yeah, we know exactly how to deal with. But in businesses, maybe there are a lot of variables that we don't control, we don't know, and actually we don't want to know. So having someone on the back end like supporting that, but then in all the other processes that might not be human value added, might make sense to do it automatically, right? Is that kind of the approach that you're taking?
100%. We often say internally that we want our customers to kind of feel the impact of AI as opposed to seeing it. So we don't want them to be chatting with an AI chatbot right now. We've got like a chat thing in our platform for customers. If they want to discuss their quotes, that pings straight into Slack, and one of our team will just respond to that straight away. So we're really building that like human to human connection. But when it comes to taking information, reading through a customer's kind of set of policy documents and extracting the information out of that, a customer doesn't care if a human does that or if a broker does that. As long as it's accurate, that's all they care about. As long as that thing's happening quickly, that's what they care about. Same with if we have a call with a customer. Once that customer hangs up the phone, they don't care if you as the human are going back and listening to the call and writing, making sure all your notes are correct, right? They don't care about that. So we want them to kind of feel the impact of it because things are happening faster. And as a result of things happening faster and done by our system, the price is ultimately cheaper.
And then from the operations stand, which I think it's very important, both things are important, but this is also relevant for you to be able to translate better prices, to reduce your commission, as you said, like have less of admin work. Which are the top 3, top 4 applications that you said, okay, it doesn't make sense how it's currently being done on a manual fashion or semi-automatic fashion. and now that you are delegating to an AI that is doing this way better, way faster, 24/7, and you don't need to actually be doing it manually?
Yeah, so the first ones are the obvious ones. So like document extraction and document work. A customer could send us 30 PDFs, which are all like between 5 and 30 pages long. Going through that to understand the current customer's profile, that shouldn't really need to be done by a human, right? You've got enough confidence with bounding boxes and being able to show things to a broker that with clear confidence and referencing to where we've got that bit of data from, you can tell what that.
Just to double check, this is an existing policy of a customer to analyze what covers or what not, or to be able to then eventually do the slip and quotes from other documents that he's sharing.
So they're existing. So let's say we're speaking to a customer that's coming up for renewal. We can ingest their existing documents or their renewal documents that they might have got in if they were looking to shop around, and then we can kind of process that information. So that's a big thing. And then also understanding like kind of who we should be sending stuff to necessarily. So like what underwriters are best in this or best in that. Again, that I've seen it firsthand. We'll have Teams channels where someone will be like, oh, I'm just speaking to this HGV risk that's got 3 different drivers, but one of the drivers is a bit younger. Where's the best market to send? A lot of this knowledge sits in people's heads. How can we get this information out and into a system so the system can understand that?
Because then you eventually quote most of the cases through email or directly through the carrier, like ability to quote in the portal. Like
so
both.
It depends. Some of the cyber insurers that we work with have like API access. Some don't, but we'll have platforms. And again, is that a browser use agent that does that? And then some, more traditional. They want a PDF. Some insurers we speak to want their specific PDF filled in. So if we're capturing that information, can we fill in insurer A, B, and C's different PDFs that they need all within one system to stop that broker like rekeying that, okay, I need to have it in this PDF. I also need to have it in that PDF. So again, it's removing all of that.
As data transformation becomes quite out of the box because of the models, I think that is a key aspect, that you do not necessarily need to have all the ability to quote the same way, but you can adapt with an agent how they want to receive it, and then you get back, translate that into the format that you want, because that is for free.
Yeah, because that's what brokers are really doing. They're really like summarizing and synthesizing documents and information, and the agents are becoming more and more and more powerful at doing that. Context windows at some point in the future will just be a thing of the past. So right now there's obviously a lot of investment going into kind of knowledge graphs and context around customers, but will this even be a problem in the future?
And so when it comes to voice AI, for instance, are you doing any applications over there, either inbound or outbound?
Yeah, so we had some experiments at this time last year with voice, and that's the thing with this space and this technology is everything's moving so fast. Like one lab releases something, a company releases a new updated model, then everything changes. So we had experimented with it, and we were having some customer calls from an inbound perspective handled by the agents, but because as the calls get longer and you're talking to a customer for 20 minutes, they were starting to get a little bit confused. But no, it's something that we are interested in internally. I think a lot of time right now we spend kind of on hold. So we're kind of thinking, is there a way that we can build some level of like PA for the broker that if the system knows we need to speak to an underwriter or chase one, it can call Martin, go through the menu, find Martin, get Martin on the phone and say, hey, Martin, I've just got Jake. He's waiting to speak to you about so-and-so customer. I'm just going to transfer you now. So we're not wasting time kind of switching concentration on tasks, waiting for someone else. That can kind of happen manually. So we've kind of had some explorations on that. I used to work in commercial motor fleet when I worked at Flock. And I think there's some really fun things that could be done in voice around claims. Like if you've got a lot of the drivers were non-native English speakers, and if you have a claims form that is a rigid form that you've got to do on phone or whatever, when you've had an accident, if you're asking someone who's not a native English speaker to write a very detailed claims report in English, that's not going to happen. If you can have them speak in Bulgarian, Bengali, Romanian, whatever, right? They could speak for 10 minutes explaining exactly what happened. You can have that transcription, translate it, and have a super rich claims form. You don't have to have a claims team that speak all the languages of the world. The transcription stuff is really good at the moment. So that's another cool area, which...
I think that when it comes to data capture, voice AI does a great job because it could go like through a sequence of steps. When it comes to, let's say on the argumentative side, the commercial side, actually trying to sell, it is probably a hard problem that probably makes sense to like do it chunk by chunk. Like maybe you first do the triage, then you go for the call, then you do the input, the quoting, and then just an app. And then eventually we'll get there. I was going to ask, because there have been some interesting moves in the space. Sorry. When it comes to building broker roll-ups with AI, at least lately in the US, there have been 2 to 3 Guide, Kovu from the top of mind. And then you have in Europe the experience of WeFox. It was pre-AI that started getting a lot of these brokers into a single platform. And my question towards Mesh is, I see you also raised venture. Or wait, you raised money. I don't know whether it came from venture capital or not. And one of the key challenges probably is how you can have growth targets that align with venture, right? So in the near future, will you be doing your acquisition of new customers on the organic channel, or are you also planning to do it inorganically by saying, hey, we have validated that we can run the operations with AI. These are our margin improvements. We can now start purchasing other brokers that would then install our technology, and we can then improve their margins and customer satisfaction. Like, how are you planning the future with this AI roll-up play that is going on?
No. So we spoke to quite a few different people about that. I think what we really want to do is grow organically. We've got a really cool distribution play at the moment, so we want to grow organically. But then who knows, right? Like, no one really knows what's going to happen in the future. But our core focus right now, and for the kind of near future, like short term, is on the kind of go-to-market channel that we've got at the moment. Then introduce another one. I think AI roll-up obviously sounds great, and I think there are some people doing it really well. I don't know how well the insurance ones are going, but I know like the Dwelly guys are doing really well kind of in the lettings agency space. And I was speaking to another VC the other day who was saying there was another one that was doing quite well. But the big problem that you have in kind of acquisitions is just more like on the cultural side of things. Like, if we're really saying that broking has been done like this for the past however many decades, and we're moving to this like orchestration kind of path, how many of these people can translate from their current way of working to this way of working? And what would that look like in an acquisition? How can you have cultural alignment in terms of where you want to get to? So I think that comes with its own challenges, and those are challenges that we don't feel that we want to kind of get involved with right now.
Excellent. I mean, the opportunity eventually is there. You're now growing organically. You have a clear distribution way that has been proved right.
Yeah.
And once you start validating the growth trajectory, maybe, you could say, okay, we can acquire one, get it in. But I do see the hype and also the opportunity on the AI rollups. Probably some of them will be great, some of them will be a failure, like every venture.
Yeah, no, I think it makes from on paper it seems like the best idea ever, right? Find legacy service business, implement AI, get better margins. Like, obviously like the dream, but how does that actually happen in reality with people and processes and so on?
Makes sense. And tying this with one of my last questions is, what do you think the market, like as an outsider technology platform, underestimates about the value of a broker when they say, they just move paper from one place to another, they will eventually be eliminated on the value chain? What do you think it's being underestimated there, that being you as a provider of brokers or working in InsurTech and now building a broker, you would say, you're not seeing this and this, that is a critical piece of the broker role?
We've heard it a million times before that we'll get rid of brokers. Everyone who doesn't know anything about insurance will step into the industry and say, wait, there are these people that earn 30, 20, 40% from the transaction. Like, what do they do? Like, surely we can just not have them. But you fail to understand so many different things. The products are distributed from insurers via brokers because they want some level of gap between them and the end customer, because there's a whole level of like compliance and regulatory stuff that comes with that. Having a broker there is good for them. Also, it would mean that insurers or MGAs would have to do incredible direct marketing stuff, which means that you as a customer then has to go to all of these people individually, answer the same set of questions repeatedly to get different prices. When you speak to a broker, you just speak to them once and then they'll go out to market. The second thing is, most buyers that we speak to don't necessarily understand what they're buying. So if there's a new digital platform that comes in and you have to buy everything online yourself and you don't have anyone to speak to, then that becomes a challenge. Also, there's other risks in like And you see this, like, that's fine maybe for these digital distribution plays if customers are paying £250 for a policy. But as customers start spending a lot of money and businesses are growing, and these are big businesses, if you're that employee that's been put in charge of purchasing the insurance and you go and speak to a broker, you work with a broker, they do the insurance, and something happens, right? You also have some protection because you were working with a broker. If the broker made a mistake or got something wrong, but you don't want to be that employee that was like, oh, I bought, we've been using Marsh for the past 10 years. I found this really interesting digital thing. I bought the insurance and a claim happens. And then you're like, oh, but you didn't have this thing that we've already had for years. And then that business goes bust because the business interruption isn't going to pay out. No one wants that personal risk as an employee. It's not your company, but you don't want that risk to get fired and lose your job and not be able to pay your mortgage. So having the broker, again, gives you a level of protection as a buyer of insurance. So yes, if you're a contractor, painter and decorator, does everything themselves, then yeah, go online and buy a Hiscox policy because it's going to be good value, you get good cover, and it's about 300 quid. But as soon as you get up to paying 4 or 5 figures, that's when it makes sense to speak to a broker to make sure you have a full understanding of your risks.
Makes sense. And what are the key things that now with technology and AI, you would say that it will change the way that brokers operate, that you're actually building in Meshed or that you are planning to build, that have been historically one way, but now with AI and new technology will be rebuilt?
Yeah, I think because the applications of AI have gone the furthest in software engineering, because they're the most in tune users and buyers of the technology because they understand it, but also because it's verifiable, right? Code is verifiable, so it's easy to build really amazing models because it's easy to do. There are other parts of knowledge work that are also verifiable, and I think what we'll see and what we've seen in software engineering is, as opposed to like writing lines of code and administrating the work, you're moving into the orchestration piece. So other industries will follow where they'll have, similar to Mesh, where they'll have agents doing different tasks, bringing that back to the human. That's like, I've just done this for you. Is this right? Yes or no? Looks great. And then continue. So the analogy I always use is when you go to an airport and you scan your passport, that isn't facial recognition. That's someone stood in the booth going, yes, no, yes, 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 no, yes, 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 no, yes, no. And what they've done is they've removed the time drain it takes little old Doris to walk from the front of the queue to the border force agent, to looking for her passport in her bag, to taking it out, dropping it on the floor, to picking it back up, to getting the stamp, to put it back in the bag. That's the bit of time you remove. I think all industries are going to move to this like orchestration layer, with insurance being one of those. I think another kind of driving force will be how people shop and look for insurance. We're already seeing a lot of our customers will upload the policy documents they get to a Claude, to a Gemini, to a ChatGPT to ask questions back to us. So you'll have a normal customer whose insurance knowledge isn't that great when you first speak to them, but suddenly they've asked you very technical questions and you know that has just come from an LLM because you asked them and they'll tell you. So I think that bit, and we're seeing some apps being pushed into these kind of ChatGPT app stores where people will be looking to buy in as a distribution channel. And then I think the way that the world's going, let's look 5 years in the future, I do think that most people will have personal agents doing things for them. And there will be some level of like insurance agent to agent work that will happen where brokers will have their own agents that will be speaking to customers' own agents to deal and transact on the insurance and bringing the humans in when they need them.
Indeed. Yeah. Really follow that. All of the things. Interesting world. That is what we're living and we're going to be living in the near future. It's amazing to be building part of it.
It's amazing, exciting, fun and scary.
Yeah, at the same time, actually. Yeah. Great. Jake, this was an amazing conversation. If we can dive 1 minute into the ping pong of questions that we have, just to get to know you a little bit more personally, would be great to dive into it. So let's start with a book that you would recommend.
Oh, a book that I would recommend. This is quite topical for the time, but there's a really amazing book I read the other day called Nuclear War.
Nuclear War?
Nuclear War, yeah, by Annie Jacobsen. So I read that in literally a day. It's like an amazing book. It's like you won't put it down once you read it. So that's a really, really good book.
What is the band of your life? Music band.
I get a lot of stick for this because I don't really listen to music. But yeah.
Or the football team, maybe.
Football team, Liverpool.
Okay, Liverpool. If you were, and my last, if you were to have dinner with someone dead or alive, which person would you pick?
Oh, good question. I think Warren Buffett.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Just like how he's very analytical in how he approaches things. So yeah, I think that.
Yeah, he saw a lot of waves, so we could ask a lot about it. Jake, amazing time. Thanks a lot for sharing. Congrats on what you're building at Meshed. We're going to be following the success that you're building towards, and hope to meet you soon, either in London or in Madrid. I would love to meet you.
Yeah. Next time you're over, hopefully it'll be sunny again, and yeah, we can grab a beer.
That'd be great. Thanks, Jake.
Nice one. Cheers. See you later.